How's it going? Welcome to Scrub Corner Gaming. I'm your host, Steelio, or if you follow us over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Zulkanax, Zulkanax. So today I wanted to talk about something I see popping up pretty regularly on Facebook groups and just in general, is people asking questions about running adventure paths for the Pathfinder First Edition RPG. And a lot of these tips that I have for having run a couple of them several times translate over to 5th edition and to Pathfinder 2nd edition as well. So, the most commonly questioned adventure path, or AP, that always seems to come up is Rise of the Runelords, which has an anniversary edition and is going to be supplemented by a 3rd anniversary series book, unrelated to it, coming up here in the future, that will have the updated rules for Pathfinder 1st Edition, Pathfinder 2nd Edition, and Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition as well, which I'll touch on later towards the end of the video. But right now, I want to give some of my tips and tricks as someone who has run Rise of the Runelords 3 separate times for 3 separate groups, just to give some tips that will help you, whether you run this online or run this in person once we're allowed to meet back up in person. Rise of the Runelords is available in a couple different formats. Unfortunately, unlike some older RPG stories and adventures like this, you don't have the option of being able to get it through a website like DriveThruRPG for its original variants. However, you can get the full suite of PDFs from Paizo's website. Now, the easiest way to get a hold of it, if you want to do in-person stuff, would be through the paperback version, which is a pocket version. Now, they're pocket versions. Allow me to show you what those usually look like. Are miniature versions of the book like so. Not too big, and the font is actually surprisingly easy to read. And for a comparison versus, say, the original version, which is your full-size RPG book, you end up getting something a bit more manageable from a transport perspective. If I can get this in frame like a professional. Haha. So it does provide a nicer transportation option as well as a easier storage option. Now, as far as from Paizo, you have 2 ways of getting it again. You have the Pocketbook edition, which will run you $29.99, and then you also have the currently and possibly from this point onward digital edition of the Anniversary edition, which is probably, in my opinion, a smarter buy if you want to be able to do some online as well as in-person playing. Both have their place. I certainly could see a merit to having one of each, but what you get with the digital version in your PDF is it also includes an interactive map PDF as well as handouts. What's nice about this is the handouts you can print out and hand out to your players, which helps the immersion, especially in an adventure like Rise of the Runelords, which starts off very slow, small-timey hero, and ramps pretty exponentially over the course of the first 2 books into complete and utter chaos. That being said, if it has to be one or the other, I would actually recommend splurging and going for your digital edition, just so you get those extras with it. And for the sake of what do you get out of those extras, let's take a look at them, shall we? For one, your handouts packet is a 10-page packet in PDF form that gives you a full suite of letters, some journals, various scraps of paper, deeds, maps, things that you'd hand out to your players. And of course, likewise, your maps are, of course, your full suite of maps. There is, to the best of my knowledge, no way of exporting these maps, so this is more of a digital specific resource, unfortunately, but it is still nice to be able to have the maps in a separate variation from the book itself. So if you want to pre-draw your maps, which I highly recommend, you have them here in full PDF form, so you don't have to worry about putting any excess flipping on your book if you don't want to, and if that is a concern that you have. Some of these maps are nice to have, with the example actually of the dam here, just to be able to hand out to your players or to be able to show them, because you can always crop it down in digital form and give them an idea of what they're looking at if there's any questions as to what's going on with a specific scene. Now, the nice thing for me as a GM, and the best thing I can recommend for you as a GM looking into starting this adventure path, is there is a wealth of resource available to you on the paizo message boards in regards to this adventure path. And I'm going to link one of the most important ones that I've had down in the description below, which is a copy of our first chapter villains full blown. It's not quite a full journal. You're not going to give your players, of course, a mini rulebook, but it's a handful of pivotal journal entries that really set a mood for where the game goes, and is especially helpful if you have a group of new players who are having a hard time getting the understanding of where the depth of the story really can lie. And that's just like the tip of the iceberg of what you have options to on the message boards. There's people who have had made map tokens if you want to do Roll20. There's options for sub stories. One of the most recommended I have to insert, especially in a book too, is Dawn of the Scarlet Sun. It is a fantastic one-shot you can insert in the city of Magnamar that will act as a small filler, as well as an opportunity to give your characters a little bump in some experience gear and maybe even a level moving forward to that chapter's end, which they may find themselves needing, and you might see them as needing as well as, the purveyor of the story. That being said, on the topic of resources, I do want to take a second and show you some in-person resources that I also recommend you having on you as a GM behind the screen, whether that be the actual DM screen or your computer screen when dealing with players, just because for me, I always find analog works a little bit better than digital. Of course, you can always type these up in your own way and make them work. That's fine, but just what I've done to help myself along the way. And one of the first things I find to be really important as a GM or a dungeon master is having a notebook that I can consolidate a lot of information in and a lot of extras in. And I like these kind of these ARC style books from Staples for this. Of course, you can find a variety of different ring-bound materials as well, or disc-bound, I should say, that you can sort and organize to your own liking. But I got this specifically for all my Pathfinder campaigns, and what I do with it, let's just get us right to the Runelords section, is it gives me an opportunity to keep everything I want in one location, and that's things like a map of the initial starting town, so I have a quick reference to open to whenever someone says, hey, where's the blacksmith? I can go, good question, blacksmith 15, bang, 15's right there. It gives me a chance to keep my initiative trackers, which you can use these for 5th edition or Pathfinder. Let's see, they are made by Stat Tracker. These are really nice because it gives you an option to have a full suite of your players' information down on the backside, so you're never asking them questions like, what's your AC? How many hit points do you have? What's your constitution modifier? The information's all right there for you, and it's at a quick glance, so you're not trying to thumb through a bunch of PDFs or any other excess information in hand. I keep, and this is one of my biggest recommendations, is stat your creatures and your NPCs on note cards beforehand. Part of this is to expedite gameplay. The information's right on hand, so you're not trying to go through a ton of different books, especially in the case of 1st edition Pathfinder, where that can happen very easily, even with a story like the campaign that happens so early in the system's lifespan. And like just a couple note cards. I'll do a chapter at a time. When I get halfway through running a chapter, I'll go into the next chapter and start making the note cards for that chapter, just so I have them on hand. Again, they're available right there. And, of course, something you may already have considered doing, keeping treasure on little slips of paper, so you don't have to read out the treasure descriptions to the table. If you think that a piece of treasure is going to matter, a ton for an individual, something like the Sahedron medallion that is in the first book of the chapter, and you want that player to feel like they have knowledge specifically of an item that is important to them. They may choose to expose that to the rest of the group, but it's nice to have a slip of paper so you're not doing an excessive reading out loud for things that players can ultimately really take care of themselves in that regard. And then, of course, on the flip side of the same binder, as I mentioned, handouts. Handouts are king, in my opinion, especially for the opportunity of immersion. I printed these out, again, at Staples for the higher quality paper, and just having these to hand out really changes up things as well. And that is, again, another perk of having that digital copy of the PDF, which gives you those in addition. Notes section's pretty straightforward. You can either use these. I used the, what are they called? The project style pages where you're meant to be able to track down like a work project, just so I have an opportunity to keep like, initiative for certain fights in one location and things that may matter to that combat. And I'll also use standard ruled variance paper, so I have an opportunity to write down full summaries as well, or summaries in notes. And I do this for just about every campaign I've run, including Second Darkness, which I'll get into again in another video. But same situation as far as note-taking goes. I have the entire first map in its own little section. I have all my note cards for monsters and handouts in one location, notes and everything, and it's all in one location, easy to transport. I always know that after I wrap up a session, when I put everything in here, I'm never going to have to worry about, is it still in the same location or can I find it before the next session? Because as long as it's in this book, or I'm using this book, it's all there, it's all wrapped up in one place. I find pawns and minis in their own right are really valuable resources on a physical note as well, because they can take things from one level and really amp it up, particularly for things like boss encounter scenarios for very important NPCs that they're going to have to fight. And one of my biggest examples is your generic mook, right? Your burglar type guy doesn't need to feel special, and it's really ultimately up to you if you want to use a miniature for every situation. The nice thing about pawns is it gives them something tactile on the table to see, as well as an image, without really digging into your wallet, because you can get a treasure load of pawns for a fraction of what you could get that many minis for. But let's say, for instance, like our first real encounter, our first real heavy hitter, right? Having something to sit down that's three-dimensional helps add to that character. It also feels nice for those bigger engagements to really be able to pick out who your friends and allies are in a given fight, especially whenever they all have their own unique individual appearance. The nice thing about a lot of these tips is I mentioned how you can use them in both Pathfinder's 1st, 2nd edition, and in the 5th edition of Dungeons & Dragons, as they are the most popular role-playing games, to the best of my knowledge, out and about, at least in my local area. These tips, again, transition very easily through all three. Note cards for monster stats and creatures, giving your players something that they can physically read for items, things of that nature. Having maps, whether they're 3D expensive Dwarven Forge or WizKids Warlock, or even just something you can put on the table that shows them an area that they can look at and visualize, are probably the biggest of them. Pawns, especially for newer DMs that don't have miniatures, or maybe your players never played with miniatures, or you've never played with minis. Pawns are a very quick and easy way to build up a collection of things to stick on those maps that give your players something that they can look at. Lastly, and this is a bit more of less of a tip and more just a suggestive embellishment, in addition to giving your players little pieces of paper so that they can, have a physical reward in hand, that's another aspect of that, is not only are you saving yourself speaking time, but you're giving them something that they can hold that helps an object feel more real. Look up important when you do a read through. Always read through your adventure paths, whether it's a chapter ahead or the whole thing. Look for important magic items. Look for just important things that you think your players might hold on to. In the case of Rise of the Runelords, you have a very easy, very important item in the first book you can get a hold of from Paizo. It's only $20, and it's oddly useful. You can wear it outside a game. You can wear it in game. It's a little Sahedron medallion. This thing, like I said, it's $20. You can go buy it from Paizo, and when you give your player who loots it that piece of paper and they identify after they identify and say, okay, here you go, bud. They'll wear this thing. They'll hold on to it. You'll see it every session until the game is done. And it's just a nice little prop you can give out to players that helps an item feel important, that needs to be. Whether it's important for them or for you is really a non-factor, and I'm not going to give any spoilers in case players are watching. I've actually haven't talked about the adventure physically in and of itself at all in this entire video, in case you've noticed, specifically for spoiler-free warnings, with a few minor itty-bitty exceptions, such as the link that will again be in the description below. I'll link this too, just in case anyone does want it, because it's a really cool prop. You can use it for multiple things. It's just nice. It's neat. I'm gonna wear it right now because always Dungeon Master, never the player. I never get a chance to have cool props like this, so I'm wearing it now. Aha. I'm cool. But yeah, in summation, that's our video here, guys. If you liked it, please give us a like. If you have anything you want to add, comments down in the comment section below. Consider giving us a subscribe, and we stream over on Twitch, on twitch.tv/Zulkanax, or I guess I should say I stream, and it's a variety thing. I do miniatures on Mondays, but that's going to be our video for the day, guys. If you do enjoy, again, please give us a like, drop a comment. I appreciate it so much. This has been Scrub Corner, guys.